Hi, everyone, and welcome back to episode 12 of In Conversation With. My name is Sinead, and I'm delighted to be back this week to host this week's episode of In Conversation With. So, for anyone who's never been before, you're very welcome. We host these webinars every week on Wednesdays from 4 until 5 o'clock, and we will cover two courses or two areas of DCU in each session. And it is your chance to come on and basically direct where the conversation goes. So I'll focus your attention to the Q&A function that we have at the bottom of the screen. You can ask me and ask our hosts or our panelists any questions that you have about our various courses in DCU, and we will try our very best to answer your questions. So the first session today at 4 o'clock will be with Keziah, who is just a recent graduate of mental health nursing in DCU. And then at 4:30, Sean Coffey will be on to talk about the Bachelor of Business Studies. So we're going to start with Keziah, and I'll try and promote her into the room now. See if I can do my best to promote you to a panelist. I think that worked okay. Keziah, are you there?
Hello.
I can hear you. I can't see you yet, though. The big reveal.
There.
There you are. Hello. It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
Thank you so much for giving up your time, your precious time off from work to join us on this call today. It's very valuable for students to kind of get to hear firsthand from students who have studied in DCU and who have graduated as well. So how are you keeping? How's everything with you?
Well, it's grand so far. I am only after finishing my 3-month probationary as a this kind of like the trial as a nurse, and so now I'm officially being paid as a proper.
Congratulations. Goodness. After all your years of study, you finally got there. Well done.
I know, and you know what? Like it really did fly by, and part of me does miss college.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's funny being out in the workforce, isn't it? Because it's great to work and earn money, but then you do miss that element of college life and, going to lectures, although it is quite different this year with the online learning. So it's a whole new experience. So for the people who are watching here today, do you want to tell us a little bit about, in general, what mental health nursing is about? And then we might go into the specifics of the course.
Okay, so I suppose first off, like when I went into the course, I didn't have really like a lot of information about it as well, and I think like a lot of people do kind of go into it not really knowing what to expect. Um, so mental health nursing predominantly, it's really all about a specialization that specializes with caring for people's mental health. So it may come, like it's become a very big topic, especially now with the pandemic. Depression, anxiety, a lot of illnesses that we do see in practice would be, psychosis, or also known as schizophrenia, which is, you see a lot in the movies. It's always portrayed very differently and nearly kind of very volatile, but when you actually go there as a student, like I do remember going into it as a first year, and I was terribly afraid, didn't really know what to expect. Culturally, mental health wasn't really like a big thing for us, so going in, it was so much more different, and it was so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like it really covers like a lot of things. Like you're really helping people through a lot of stressors in their life. So it may be financial stressors. People may have just lost their jobs, and things kind of end up piling on top of each other. People may have lost a loved one, so it can always be very difficult, and grief is always such a very different journey for a lot of people. um I've encountered adolescents that have undergone extreme trauma in their life, a lot of bullying, and I think in one sense it's very eye-opening, because when we're not in their place and it's all just hearsay, it's quite, oh yeah, like this happening, but we don't really kind of understand
Yeah.
how bad it is until you've really met someone who may have undergone such a traumatic experience.
For sure.
And so like throughout the course, as your year goes up as well, like we're taught how to kind of deal with their stress and how to reassure them and to kind of provide them with the help that they need, and just being able to provide a safe space predominantly, because a lot of these people may have quite difficult home environments and are really unable to verbalize how they're really feeling. And a lot of this is just really, unfortunately, some of them kind of grow up in really poor coping families.
Hmm.
So their coping abilities are just not as, I suppose, healthy as other people.
Yeah.
So, like those kind of stuff, we are taught, like the basic nursing skills. Predominantly first year and second year, we are with the other nursing groups.
Hmm.
So usually that's when we are taught like the same kind of modules. Like understanding the body would be the name of our modules. So predominantly like anatomy, we'd have pharmacology, so learning about your medications, which is quite important as well for us. Giving a lot of very, suppose, strong, maybe antipsychotic medications and all that stuff, and knowing the doses can be very important. Um, and first year especially, like I've encountered first years now as a preceptor, which is very weird for me.
Yeah.
um but like teaching them how to do like blood pressure, doing the manual version of the blood pressures and all that stuff. So you do really like encounter such different sets of skills, and you do really meet a lot of people as well with different skills and different knowledge that you constantly just learn from. So
Yeah, I think it's definitely, as you mentioned, an area that is becoming more and more important for people to become professionals in. I mean, even over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been so much progression in how mental health is perceived, whether that's in the media and politics and in schools. So I'd imagine there is a huge interest in this course going forward because, as you said, there's going to be so many, not only are people suffering with these kind of illnesses, but even the pandemic is causing a lot of stress for people, and people aren't feeling their best, and we need people like you who have studied this to help us all. So you mentioned there when you're working out in the hospital and you are teaching the current first years or whoever's out in their place maybe to learn about blood pressure and how to give injections properly and all that. Is there a lot of practical elements on the course? Then you must do a lot of placement once you're in DCU.
there is, yes. So placement really, like I think a lot of people when they go into the course they expect to just be in placement basically for the whole 4 years. But that's not exactly it. Because on your first year and your second year, you do spend a lot more time doing the theory stuff. So that is really when you're spending a lot of time with the other nursing courses. You're spending a lot of time in labs, in lectures. So just a lot of like reading and just kind of building up in your abilities and really like your knowledge and understanding of why something is done, or
Yeah.
maybe why this is happening for someone.
Hmm.
um and when you go into placement, then it kind of just makes sense. It just kind of clicks like a puzzle. You're kind of like, oh, okay, that's the reason why.
Yeah, exactly. Everything you've learned in the lecture, you're finally seeing it in real life and it all makes sense.
Yeah. But placement wise, really, when as a first year, you're really put in an observational role. You know, at the end of the day, we know, like, it's very weird now for me to say that as a nurse, like we know that you're not really like experienced. You don't really have a lot in your toolbox yet. So it's really more for you to kind of see what is going on and just to kind of orient yourself and just to kind of know what to expect and just really build on the knowledge that you'll need for placement. Because I think different places, you learn such different things, or they specialize in different things. So each placement really kind of gives you an opportunity to get to know certain certain bits that you might not have gotten to really cover in a different place or in college.
Mhm.
um so yeah, first year is really pretty basic, and it's just really to kind of for you to know really what to expect. And second year would be a bit more hands-on. And once everyone hits into second year, that's also the time that we can work as a healthcare assistant. So I suppose like everyone would be hearing now that a lot of students unfortunately can't do part-time as healthcare workers. But like I remember as a second year, I did work in a nursing home part-time, and it also gave me a chance to really kind of build my confidence a little bit more, still be paid in the process,
Yeah.
and also learn a lot more kind of general skills, because I think with mental health we're not equipped as much with a big amount of general skills. I mean general nursing skills. So yeah, like those stuff, like we do really get to learn more in the job
Yeah.
rather than in college. And third year and fourth years, obviously, like as everyone knows in college, that's when kind of things kind of get a little bit more real, a bit more intense.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot more placement hours, definitely a lot more exposure.
Hmm.
Um, for us in mental health, like second year and third year is when the specialized kind of placements start to come. So I did find myself in placements such as like addiction and homelessness services. So I worked with Merchants Key for a few weeks. I was in A&E in the matter, specializing no, I'm covering someone who specializes in self-harm in emergency. So like that was so interesting. Um
Mm.
and really getting to work with the consultants and different other multidisciplinary kind of professionals, and that was just so suppose it's just such a pot of knowledge, because you're just learning from everyone. You can have like 5 minutes just chatting with someone and hearing maybe an example of what they do, and it just gives you really like a perspective of how like the whole team works, and it's not just like such an individual job, it's
Yeah.
really like a team job. But yeah, we do a general placement as well. So we do it for, usually it's a month of general placement. So I did mine in the Mater Hospital, and that was in third year. Usually that's when we do it, and then fourth year is when internship happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think a lot of students as well, when they're looking at the various nursing degrees, say in DCU in particular, they might worry that, oh goodness, maybe I do want to just do general nursing because I'm not sure. But even as you said, you're specializing. Obviously, you chose to do mental health nursing, but there's so many different areas that you can work in within that sector. You're not just confined to one space. There's loads of different organizations that you can work in, and various different places that you can even go on placement. Like you mentioned a couple of different ones there, or your part-time work. It's really, you can kind of decide what route you want to go through with it. For the students who are listening in today and are maybe unsure if it would suit them, do you think there's particular skills or personality traits that you have that might make you good in the role? Say, would you have to be quite mentally strong to be a nurse? I feel like that's maybe an obvious question, but you must see a lot in your day-to-day work in the hospital. Do you think there's certain traits that might make someone be a good nurse, whether it's being caring, being attentive, like to deal with people?
I think like there are skills and certain aspects in in one's personality that really kind of grows as your year goes on, and you're exposed to more placement and more stories from people and hearing a lot about their experiences. I think it's really kind of, I mean, yeah, caring and empathetic and being able to really listen to people's experience, and, really kind of understand that it's their experience and it can be quite different for everyone, and everyone's coping ability is different, can
Mm,
be very important. And that's not just in mental health, that's just predominantly for nursing in general. Like some people just sometimes need to let it all out and just
yeah.
be able to vent it out, because unfortunately like society can be very very harsh,
Hmm.
and some people don't really have that outlet, unfortunately, and sometimes it can be the families that can be quite difficult to deal with. um Really, like I think aspects in our personality really just develop as we progress, I can't really say that certain aspects of personality means that, oh, you'd be the best nurse now, like,
Of course.
because like at the end of the day, like we do have like such a variety of patients. Like you'll have patients who'll try to chance everything. You'll have patients who can be so dependent, and you just find yourself being really firm and all that. And can be very difficult, especially as a first year, as a second year, to really be able to voice out and be say, wait a minute, like you have to stop,
Yeah, yeah.
like back up or calm down, like like that's very different, like, and people think that that's so confrontational, but really it's just, like you have to give yourself maybe time. Need to give yourself the space to really process
Hmm.
stuff as well. You need to be able to really put people, like, tell people to say that, like, to just acknowledge the boundaries that you've put. And like those are just really difficult stuff. And like before college, I don't think I would have been able to really kind of do that and really establish myself and be telling someone who's older than me, especially
Yeah.
like you have to like back down, or like you can't say that to someone. And
Hmm.
usually I think there's such a culture that we keep quiet and we just kind of go about our day, and it's not our business and all that. But in nursing, when something like that happens, you kind of go against the grain.
Sure. Yeah, no, you absolutely. And often I'm sure you'd be looking after multiple patients at once. It's sure it's rare that you just have the one person you're looking after. So you might have to tell people, I'll get back to you later. Sorry, I have to go to this person first. But I think that's very inspiring that you were saying you mightn't have had those skills, say, in sixth year or like when before you came to DCU, but it's something you were taught and you'll learn as you go on. So for people who are listening today that are thinking, I'd love to do mental health nursing or nursing of some description, but I don't know if I'd be great at that. Keisha has just said there, she didn't feel that way necessarily either, but it's something that's incorporated into the course. And the more experience that you're like spending outside of the classroom and in these like organizations or hospitals, that's how you gain that experience as well. So that's fantastic. So Keisha, where are you working now? Can I ask you a little bit about what kind of path you decided to take after the degree?
Yeah, so I'm currently working under the HSE now. So
Okay.
um I am currently working in the rehabilitation services in Dublin South. So my job at the moment is really dealing with people in the community and kind of ensuring that they have the support in the community, and prevent them from having to be admitted to an
Hmm.
inpatient unit, really focused on recovery, and helping them build on to their skills to hopefully in a few months, or in a few years maybe, that they're able to maybe live independently or be able to kind of cope with difficult situations um more like healthier and in a better manner that won't really endanger themselves or other people, um or just really be a point of contact even for some people, especially now in this pandemic. So I think that's where I'm at the moment. I am currently working in a high support hostel. So these are people who have they're not exactly ready to be living independently and are requiring
Sure.
support 24 hours a day still, but we're not as maybe as intense as inpatient units. It's more so really kind of giving them the space to deal with things themselves, and when they're unable to, I suppose, cope properly or in a better manner, then we step in, or we kind of just provide some guidance. We do a lot of activities with them. So we do maybe like relaxation, we do a lot of exercises, especially now when everyone can't go out, and
Mm.
doing a lot of liaising a lot with recovery based programs. So this may be people who have had difficulty in their life, and they may have been service users themselves, and they are ready to kind of be able to talk to people who's kind of going through similar stuff at the moment, and be able to guide them, and suppose reassure them that they're not alone in the way they're feeling, because I think can be very lonely. especially when you get a diagnosis or when you've been feeling that way and you feel like it's you against the world.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I think quite often people in those scenarios as well, as you mentioned, you could be one of the only people that they talk to that day or talk to about what they're going through. So there's certainly a personal element to it as well. That not only are you there to care for them medically, but also emotionally a lot of the time as well. I'll just remind everyone that there is a Q&A function. So if you do have any questions for Keisha, do throw them in. They're anonymous, so don't be worrying. There's no such thing as a silly question. Whether you want to ask something else about placement or about particular skills, just let us know in the Q&A. We might step away from nursing for just a minute because you did so much with your time in DCU outside of the class, and so many students who are studying science related subjects are often way too busy to get involved, and you still managed to fit it in. So not only were you a student ambassador, but I know you're very prominent in the Glee Club as well. So do you want to cover for a couple of minutes maybe some of the other things you got up to show that there's more to life in college than just your course?
Oh yeah, and like I do remember like speaking about it in like higher options and in open day about people thinking that like if you go into nursing that you don't have a life anymore, and like that isn't necessarily true. I mean, I did manage, thankfully, to kind of just join everything, and I remember being a first year and just joining nearly like 12 clubs and don't really know half of what I've been joining, mostly for the free
The
pizza.
freebie. Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, I'm a person now who's like I'm very fond of music and I'm very fond of singing and performing, and that has been a big part of my life. So
Mm.
joining the Glee Club for me was definitely such an outlet. Um and was such a nice way to kind of get to know people outside of my course. I think when you're doing nursing, it's so hard to kind of get out of it because once people are starting to do their part times and all that you're talking about is like, oh, this happened at work, like you won't believe it,
Exactly.
or you just kind of like sometimes, oh, it's just so weird. Like it's just like nearly rant central because like you're talking about so much like nursing stuff and you just can't get away. And
Yeah.
so, like Glee was definitely like an outlet where like I met people from different courses, from business to multimedia and all that stuff, and like they may not exactly be personalities I would have thought I'd get along with, but I think like finding people who had common interests with me and had similar passions as me in terms of like singing and really performing, and have been really very open in terms of like just being friends and all that stuff. Like it was so nice and it was so great, and we definitely like had our um fair share of great exposures. Like for example, we did perform in Houston Station before for um
Wow.
one of those crisps brands. I don't even remember anymore, but that was like during Christmas. And that was me as the first year, and I was thinking how gassed that was, and just like singing so weirdly in Houston Station in the dark. um we performed in the Helix um every March. Like unfortunately the last show didn't go through because of the pandemic, but that was definitely like something that was so big for Glee. But I did, like when I was in first year as well, I did join volleyball um very briefly.
Yeah.
Did really enjoy it, as well as badminton and all that stuff. And I think like you really are spoiled for choice in DCU. Like there's nothing bad to say, and if it's not available, you can just start it yourself, which is great. I mean,
Exactly, exactly. It only takes 20 signatures to set up your own society. So if there was something that and you came to DCU and it didn't exist, you can set it up yourself. Keisha, we have a question that came in there. Someone asked, what are some other paths to branch off in after the course? So could you work in various different environments, or could you even do a postgrad actually, or a master's degree after this course?
yeah. So I think if anything, nursing does open a lot more opportunities, I think, afterwards. And it's not just about the travel maybe after. And I know like a lot of people are looking into maybe moving into Australia or New Zealand or Dubai, Abu Dhabi, like name it, and you can work there.
Yeah.
And, but like myself, like I am planning to pursue general nursing afterwards and just be kind of double specialized.
Mm-hmm.
Now that has really been my plan at the very beginning, because like I didn't think I was I actually didn't know that I was applying for mental health nursing until I got it from the CAO. So I was
Oh, no way. You
yeah,
kept that quiet for a while, Keisha.
yeah, I didn't know I was applying for the course and for the college at the same time until I got it from the post.
Well, there you go, people who are listening in the CAO. Double check those codes because you
I
could
know.
end up in a random course.
But no, it worked out for me. Like, I mean, I my first choice was general nursing, but at the end of the day, like I just gave mental health nursing a chance, and you know, it worked out, and I am loving every single minute of it. There is really room for postgraduate, and even now, like I've been offered to do like multiple courses. Like if you go through like the different universities now and just have a look through, there's so many postgraduate or even like diploma courses that's offered for people who've
Mhm.
finished their undergrad as nurses. um there really is, like I think like with nursing, let's say if you decide maybe to do like psychology, it can be used as a pre-med course. And it's such and I think like it's such a great pre-med course to actually use, because you
Mhm.
have like certain skills already that will be expected of you as a doctor and will be kind of taught to you in practice, and you kind of be like, oh yeah, I've done it already. So
Exactly. You've covered some of it already. But yeah, I think it's fair to say then that there are various different routes that you can go down depending on what you want to do. And again, you'll be exposed to a lot over those 4 years of studying that I'd say you might even enter the university thinking you want to do one thing in the future, but actually trying everything out, you might decide you want to do something completely different. And as you said, that's the beauty of nursing. You can really go into a lot of different areas after it.
and there's so much transferable skills, like at the end of the day, like a lot of people do change careers afterwards, and like nursing can be quite intense. Don't get me wrong, like it really has its moments where like you do find yourself in such tough situations, and like you're just drained mentally and physically at times going home. But it is definitely one of the most gratifying things when you've seen maybe a really like a tough case recover, or just being able to kind of help family through their grief and all that stuff, and seeing the recovery. um I've had a patient who was so anxious that they were so unwilling to go out of their house, and then the next thing you know, like there was like a switch in their brain where they nearly lived by the fact that like if it causes them anxiety, that they have more reason to actually do it. And they were just doing everything that I may be wouldn't be ready to do myself. And it's
Yeah.
just really amazing to see, like, and it's such a testament to see as well that when people are ready to kind of recover, and it's really the time for them, that it just happens. It just works out. And
Yeah.
yeah, and being to be able to be part of that journey is just so nice, and it's such eye-opening experience, and the growth for you as well. Like you just constantly learn. It's never like it's a never ending cycle of just learning
Mhm.
through the other people's experiences, which is mad, and
Yeah, it sounds like one of the most rewarding jobs you could ever do. Really, it's and difficult and really rewarding. Guys, if anyone has a last minute question, do let us know because it's just turned 1:30 now. Keisha, that was the quickest half an hour of my life. Oh my God, I could keep talking to you about this for ages. I'm not sure if there's any more questions, but if Keisha does move on, however, and you want to get in touch with us, just we have an email address, studenthelp@dcu.ie, and we can answer any questions you have about mental health nursing. Don't see any more coming through. So Keisha, you are free to go and enjoy your evening unless you've anything else to add at the end.
no, thanks, Emil. And at the end of the day, this year has been a lot, really tough for a lot of people, and especially now, it has changed the way placements are going for nursing students, and a lot of people are kind of left in limbo,
Mhm.
especially when you have to book for, like to rent accommodation and all that stuff. And like my real advice is just to constantly seek for help. At the end of the day, like your college journey is not just such an individual journey. Like you're really gonna meet people in a process, and there's so many supports, especially with DCU. Like if there's anything, like I really did feel so supported during my time, and I've had so many people and friends that I met through the university that I knew had my back,
Yeah.
and especially like with this pandemic, and going through it as an intern as well. So yeah, I mean, hope everyone kind of manages through the pandemic, and hope you guys have a good time.
Thank you for those lovely words, Keisha. And I think for anyone listening today, that was so informative and I think really gives a great idea of what the course entails. And that's exactly what this series is for. So I will let you go. I'm going to change your role back to an attendee, but thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. And as you said, you can email us at studenthelp@dcu if there's at dcu.ie if there's anything else you want to ask. So thank you, Keisha. I will see you later. I'm going to change Keisha's role. And it's just going to be myself now, but just in time we have Sean Coffey, who is going to be talking to us about the business studies degree. So I'm going to attempt to make Sean Coffey our panelist. Let's see if that works. Sean, you should be with us in a couple of seconds.
Oh, am I here?
We did it. Yes. You can see and hear me okay, Sean?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Fantastic. So this is going to be a funny type of conversation because I'm going to pretend that I didn't study this course a mere couple of months ago. I just graduated from this course, Bachelor of Business Studies in DCU, but Sean is currently in the thick of it. So for anyone who's just joined the call, you're very welcome. We do these weekly webinars every Wednesday evening, and we cover two courses each week. And it's just a way for you to just get a bit more insight into what different courses entail. And you can also ask questions live as well. So there's a Q&A function at the bottom of the screen if anyone does want to type anything in as we go along. If you want to steer the conversation, feel free, because otherwise we will just keep yapping. So Sean, student ambassador, business studies student, loads of things in DCU you're up to. Do you want to tell us maybe in general what the business studies degree is about, and then we'll go into kind of more specifics then?
Thanks for easing me in there. You're not throwing me in at the deep end.
No, never.
Well, to start off, I suppose, the Bachelor of Business Studies in DCU is much like every other business course in the country in that it is general. So if you are doing Leaving Cert Business, Leaving Cert Economics or Accounting, or if you're a mature student who is looking for this course either, it does start from a very kind of ground up approach. It covers a lot of different areas like accounting, economics, marketing, HR, psychology in your business, or how to market and find out your particular consumer. Loads of different avenues. So it gives you a really firm, modern foundation to go on then and put your little sprinkle on top for final year where you pick what you actually want to do. And a lot of business courses in Ireland will take that approach where the first 2 years are about building a firm foundation and exposing you to loads of different avenues.
Brilliant. So if we take those first 2 years then and go through the various sort of modules you'll be studying, because business studies isn't a requirement for the Leaving Cert. So don't worry if for anyone who's listening, if you're not studying business or accounting or economics, because a lot of those subjects will be covered in general. So Sean, do you want to even give us a couple of examples of what you might be studying in first and second year?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, just as Sinead alluded to, you are absolutely not at a disadvantage if you haven't done business, economics, or accounting. I myself only did business, and I loved it, but you're not at any advantage or disadvantage having done any of those Leaving Cert subjects. And then that extends to mature students. You're not at any disadvantage because your Leaving Cert was maybe 5 years ago. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but it's just good that if you have an interest in it. So to start off, year one, you'll start off by doing your basics in accounting, your basics in economics. You'll do an introduction to law module, introduction to marketing, and then you'll do like some business analytics, a little bit of stats and maths and things like that. It's all applied, so it's really easy to understand it. It's not just like complex algebra equations. It's actually, you get to see like kind of real world problems. They've introduced things like critical thinking and business 101, which I never had, but I've talked to people who've done them and they seem amazing. And then you kind of, so flagship module of first year is your enterprise module, where it'll be project based and it's really entrepreneurship driven and exposes you to a lot of creative ways of thinking and things like that. And then I suppose year two kind of follows the same principle, where there's no focus on anything in particular, but you'll build on a lot of things that you've learned in first year. So, for example, you've done economics, you're going to move on to things like industrial economics. If you've done accounting, you might move on to like financial markets, and things like that, where you learn how businesses interact with stock markets and things like that. So year two is all about that. You'll do things like ethics, human resource management, things like the changing consumer or operations management. And it's essentially just building on everything so that by the end of year two, you've got a really good sense of where you want to take your own education, your own career.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely important that business courses are designed like that, because the world of business is just so vast. I mean, there are so many different careers, and they often tell us that, you know, careers that we'll be working in 10 years time mightn't even exist at the minute because of how quickly everything changes. So not only is it a great thing to study loads of different areas in your first and second year, but as I said, if you haven't studied business before, you might be unaware that some different areas of business even exist, and then you're enlightened to it and you can go on. So this course is 3 or 4 years long, dependent on whether or not you want to do an internship. So Sean, you're on an intra at the minute. So intra is kind of the office in DCU that arranges all the work placements. It stands for integrated training, and it's a very encouraged thing to do in the DCU Business School. And also, if you enter this course, it's guaranteed if you want to do it. So it's not competitive. In other universities, they might only have, say, 50 places for internships and there could be 80 students enrolled. But in DCU, once you're enrolled and you want to do it, we'll make sure that there's one for you. So Sean, whether you want to talk about your one specifically or just intra in general and what it entails.
Oh, well, I'll do a bit of both, I suppose. To steal a quote from yours truly, I love it because you learn and you earn.
Exactly.
So, there you go. For anyone who doesn't know that, Sinead said that to me in talks, and she said it to countless years since. But it's basically it's a fully paid internship, which is unreal. And I don't know about you, but do you often feel like when you enter a new job, it almost feels like the first 6 months of that job is like a new college course where you have to learn how to do that job specifically. So it's incredible to
exactly,
you know, be in the middle of your degree, have such a good base understanding of everything, and then to be able to go in and learn hands on. Like there's things that I've learned in my job that I won't learn in any college course, you know, like things like communication or things about like niche jobs or anything like that. And a lot of people will speak to that as well. And from talking to people, they've gone into a certain area and they might absolutely love it, and then might know that that's where they want to take their career. Vice versa, they might hate it. So it's good about discovering that by yourself. I suppose for me, I'm working for KKR, the Credit Advisors branch in Dublin. So they're one of the top 5 private equity firms in the world. So I just applied to the job, did the interview, and thankfully got the job. And it's been great. I've been working at home ever since. Like I'm actually like kind of in my quote unquote office right now.
Your office, yeah.
My DIY makeshift office, but it's been good. You know, a lot of the companies this year have been very understanding, and they sent you out monitors and laptops and keyboards and everything like that. But hopefully for anyone who's listening right now, if you're going to go out and intra, you're going to go out to the office and you're going to get all the perks and bells and whistles associated. But it's great. I think it's really exposes you to a new way of learning. You know, you get some cash in the bank, and you get connections as well, and you get a broader understanding of the world of work. Like the first 2 months working in this job, like I'd never been more tired.
Exactly. Yeah, you're really thrown in the deep end in terms of being a full-time employee. A lot of people, I think, have a misconception that the term intern or internship means a load of coffee making and a load of photocopying. Now, you might do a bit of that, but you're also given proper jobs. I mean, DCU were very strict about their screening process, so you won't be sent somewhere to do work that isn't worth, you know, what you're earning and everything like that. I mean, I know Sean deals with crazy things in work every day, and it's hard to believe that you are an intern with the amount of responsibility that you're given in the company. But again, it's all towards that experience and that CV. We have a question come in here, so I can stop you in your tracks. We'll just cover it. So someone asked, is there an opportunity to study abroad during this course as well?
Yes. Sorry, do you want to take that?
Yeah, you can work away. Sorry, my charger just fell out. Let me put that back in.
Yes, there is an opportunity to study abroad. Obviously, because it's a business course and it's not a language course or even like business international or something like that, you're going to be restricted in where you can go. So you have to go to an English speaking university, but you can still go. The places are just a little bit more competitive because it's, you know, it's not really seen as a necessity. If you're doing a language, you need an Erasmus, you know, but you can go abroad. I know people who've been accepted to universities in Boston, Portugal, Holland, France. There's loads of them.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more limited than placements in Ireland, but they're still great, and there is still an opportunity there for you. So definitely, as soon as you get your foot in the door, just, you know, ask your course chair. They're lovely. All the information's online now as well anyway, so you can even look at it now after this talk, and you can explore all your different options, and it'll all be done through English, so it's great like that, you know.
Exactly. And then as well as that, the DC Business School offers some summer schools. So if you didn't fancy going abroad for a whole year, and maybe you want to do the internship, so you're kind of torn, and you could always spend a couple of weeks studying abroad during the summer and earning some credit towards your final year. So again, if anyone's listening who maybe is not familiar with how college works or how modules work, basically for every subject you study in college, you get kind of 5 or 10 credits, and you have to accumulate 60 credits to pass the year. So when you do a summer school, you can actually say cover maybe 10, 15, 20 credits during the summer, meaning you have less to study when you go into the next year. So again, that's always an option as well. But something interesting, Sean, that you mentioned just there, and it's again very true for business. An internship in business can really help you decide what you like or what you don't like, because again, it's extremely broad, the world of business, and you might enter this course, you know, heart set on working in marketing, and you could do a marketing internship and really realize that it isn't for you and you'd rather work in advertising, or Sean has first-hand experience of that. So again, those internships are there to give you options and to help you learn. And again, it's very competitive in business in order to get employment. And, you know, a lot of people graduate with business degrees every year, so it kind of makes you stand out. So Sean, you're not quite there yet, but final year, what's that looking like? So as in final year, you can specialize in an area of business. So from working in KKR, do you think it's going to be finance oriented, or what are you thinking?
I think it's going to be finance oriented. Yeah, I'm really enjoying life right now. And I can definitely see myself continuing that on into the future. And I definitely think that choosing finance will definitely help me get on that path.
Fantastic. For anyone listening in today, would you have any advice for maybe what sort of person you might like to be if you're interested in business, or maybe the course is that broad that you can kind of be any sort of individual and succeed?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of can. I mean, we kind of know ourselves. The Bachelor of Business Studies course is about 150 people in it. So it can actually be a case where you'll meet like every single person under the sun in that 150. So I can't really say that, you know, oh, if you're person X, you should do like business like 100%. It's definitely all about what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, and things like that, and what you're willing to work at as well.
Exactly. Much like Keisha earlier, you have been super involved in college life, and I like to cover this sort of thing as well, again, just to show people that it's a whole melting pot when you go to college. It's not just your course or your clubs and societies or your internships. Everything is a contribution to kind of where you end up. So you've done some kind of business related stuff and some non-business related. Do you want to tell me a little bit about your involvement in life outside of college or lectures in DCU?
Jeez, we might need another half an hour.
Quite possibly.
God, yeah. Well, like, for anyone who's not, I'm from Newbridge anyway. if anyone is spotting the Clare badge. But so lived in Newbridge, and I commuted all the way up to first year. So I got trains and Lewis's and bus and things like that. So when you've got a 3-hour commute, you're not really going to get involved in extracurriculars. But when I went into second year, I just said, here, do you know what? I can't be living life like this. I'm just going to make myself absolutely knackered doing all the bits that I really want to do. And I don't care what the consequences are. I'm gonna just go for it. So actually, it all started off with me becoming a student ambassador, and me coming up and working at orientation last year. And that was amazing. That was my first real eye-opening experience to how amazing the student body is, and how great it is collaborating on something, working on something, even if it was just I say just, but like a DCU event, like a university-driven event. And that's when I started to get really involved in clubs and societies and things like that. And I just went from strength to strength from there. It was brilliant. My first endeavor was probably like with DC Startup Sock, which a really close friend of mine started up, pun intended. But so I became the PRO of that society, and it was amazing. We had like 600 people show up to an off-campus event, which is like amazing. That was really big for us. And actually it was probably there where I came in first year and I was like, I love people. I really want to do something in like marketing or HR. And being a PRO, as rewarding as it was bloody hard. Like, and I fell out of love with it then. And then I really started to like the whole finance side of things. So, that was an example of like something I did in my society. It wasn't paid or anything, but like I gained so much experience from that outside of the lecture hall that actually really helped shape where I want to take my career and things like that. And I made a lot of friends in the process. And then probably we could actually talk about student ambassador work for the next half an hour, like if we wanted to. But I did a full Monty show, and I did a boxing match for charity as well. We won't talk about the result of that anyway, but there's loads of things. You can literally get involved in anything under the sun. You can do something mad and just say it's for charity, and
that's it though. It's all about getting involved, and business studies in particular wouldn't have a crazy amount of hours that you're in lectures for. It's actually kind of on the shorter end of the spectrum, with only maybe 12 to 16 a week. So you do have a lot of time to get involved, and even as Sean said, like apply those skills maybe that you're learning in class to be like the public relations officer for a team. Or say you were interested in accounting, you could do accounting, but also be in startup stock and be involved in entrepreneurship. So there's a lot there, guys. Again, there is a Q&A function if you do want to get Sean for his last kind of 5-10 minutes, if there is anything you want to ask him about. Sean, any specific modules in the DC Business School that you found particularly interesting that maybe you weren't aware even existed before?
I have to say straight off the bat, industrial economics. I think you know what I'm talking about. Declan Curran is he's just such a storyteller.
Yeah.
Oh God, he's definitely been one of my favorite lectures. I didn't know I was interested in that, and it was just how he delivered it, and where he basically just told the story of how modern industry and modern economics came to be. And I know I'm probably not doing any justice by saying it like that, but by God, that was an inspiring module. Like that. And then there is I did love financial markets, and I did really like financial management as well. And I think a lot of the economics and accounting modules, if that's your sort of thing, were really nice. But equally, I've enjoyed, I haven't been great at them, but I've enjoyed some of the marketing modules. They're really interesting. And they tie in a lot of psychology, a lot of modern technology. Like if you were going to college like maybe 5-10 years ago, you wouldn't hear a thing about social media or like targeted ads or anything like that in your college course. But it's amazing, like DCU really keeps up with the times, and like I'm in third year now, and the course has already changed slightly from when I was in first year. So DCU really want to keep up with the times, make you as educated and employable as possible. So sorry, tangent.
No, but you're dead right. Constantly evolving, and as the world of business is as well. It's not just the same course that's existed for the last 30 years. It's something that every year the modules are looked at and to see where they can improve and be applied to the modern day world. For again, anyone who's interested in, say, maybe how it's examined, a lot of continuous assessment and group work, some exams. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a great mix. So they're really varied. You have a mix of continuous assessment, which for anyone who wouldn't be too familiar with that, it would be a mixture of maybe like an exam halfway through the semester, maybe like, you know, like a 20% exam, like during an hour during the semester. It might be like an MCQ exam. It might be an essay. It could be like a group project. It could be a presentation, things like that. And then a lot of the times there'll be a split. So you might have like 50% continuous assessment and 50% exams. So if you're someone who like hates exam stress like me, or you just, you know, exam anxiety, it's so common like that, you know, you can do well in the exam, but your whole grade is not going to be riding on that. Don't worry. It's like the course really wants to make sure that your final grade is like a fair representation of the amount of work you've put in. But there's also like a bit of a mix. Like, so if you are choosing certain modules and because you know that you're just great at cramming for the last 2 weeks, like you crave that exam, you couldn't do an essay, like, you know, you can definitely, especially in final year, kind of select your modules around that as well. Not so much in first and second year, but still a good mix.
Yeah, and as you said, there's projects and group work because naturally that is how it happens in the real world. You're very rarely going to be working on your own project or your own essay. Often it will be involving other people and other people contribute to it. So yeah, again, just preparing you kind of subtly for all of that stuff in the future. Sean, just before we finish up, you did mention the ambassador program, and if people have been tuning in over the last couple of weeks, most of the guests that we have on are or have been student ambassadors, and if anyone listening ends up, you know, coming to DCU, they'll certainly have some sort of involvement with the student ambassador program. Do you want to tell us maybe a little bit about that just before we finish up?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, if you're accepted to being a student ambassador, it's basically because you absolutely love DCU. And I can tell you firsthand, it's not fake. It's not for anything other than we love the place that we've ended up in, and we want to tell everyone else how much we love it, and maybe get you guys to love it as well. So I know when I speak for everyone, we'll definitely be the first people. If you come up and say, hey, I want to do this, this, and this, and I'm this type of person, we might be like, you know what, you'd be better off going somewhere else. I think this would really fall in line. Like, we always want what's best for you. So if you're ever texting us on UniBuddy or anything like that, we can say like, hey, have you looked at this? But you know, we just want to tell you how great DCU is. If you're ever at open days, we'll be the guys in the blue jackets buzzing around saying just amazing things about, like, I know we're a little bit biased, but it's really an incredible place. I've never heard anyone say a bad word about it.
Yeah, exactly. And as you mentioned, there's UniBuddy is a feature that we have on our website at the minute. So if you go onto dcu.ie/CAO, you can actually chat to our student ambassadors directly, completely free of charge, and ask them about their courses. So again, we're trying to put as much content online as we possibly can because we can't be out at career fairs or visiting schools in person. So yeah, we're trying to just get in touch with us if you do have questions. As I said, we have a Q&A chat here for the next couple of minutes, or you can find us on studenthelp@dcu.ie, and we'd be more than happy to get back to you. Doesn't seem like there's many questions coming in, so we might start tapering towards the end of the conversation, but there's always a last minute one that comes in. Sean, if you could pick a highlight of the course so far, whether that's a module, a moment, your internship, could you land on just one?
I probably could. I think definitely the moment I got my internship, that was amazing. You just feel like such a sense of accomplishment. It's, you know, my first like big boy job, for want of a better term. Like, that was amazing. But I think just generally looking back on it, just the crack and the atmosphere and the people I've met, you know, be it through group projects, be it through mutual friends, you know, things like that. They're not even like nights out. They might just be like, you know, weird ass study sessions in the library where we just get too caffeinated or something, or we might just like all be slagging a lecturer or something because he said something. Like, I don't know. It's just the general feeling around the course. I just absolutely love it from day one. So
Yeah, that's been a common theme throughout these conversations, is people saying that there's a vibe in DCU, and that's a very in word at the minute, but it's the vibe in DCU that it's quite electric, and you can feel it there. You know, it's not too big, it's not too
So
small.
true,
Course
yeah.
sizes are just right, in my opinion. And it's just a lovely place to be. But listen, there's no more questions coming in, so I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Guys, we're here every Wednesday 4 till 5 with various courses each week. But as I said, you can contact our ambassadors on UniBuddy. You can contact us directly on studenthelp@dcu.ie if anything comes up. But Sean, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I really appreciate that. And best of luck with everything.